My dear friends, today I want to talk about something that has the power to transform not only your relationships, but your entire life. A question many ask but very few truly understand. How does a woman become high value? Not by looks, not by money, not by popularity, but by character clarity and conscious choices. You see, value is never something you shout about. Value is something the world notices in silence. A diamond doesn't run around screaming, "Please pick me." It simply shines, and the world automatically protects what is precious. So today, let's talk about how a woman becomes that diamond, calm, confident, and unquestionably high value. A high value woman begins with one simple, powerful truth: she knows her worth. And knowing your worth is not a line you read in a book, it is a deep inner realization that shapes every decision you make, every step you take, and every relationship you allow into your life. It is not arrogance, it is not ego, it is not pride, it is simply awareness. Let me tell you a small story. One day, a woman walked into a jewelry shop. She saw a beautiful ring shining under a glass display. She asked the owner, "How much is this?" The owner said, "It's priceless." She asked again, "No, really? What is the price?" The owner smiled and said, "This is a rare diamond. Only those who truly understand its value will ever buy it. That is why it stays in the cabinet until the right person walks in." And she understood something profound. The diamond is not desperate to be purchased. The buyer must be deserving. My dear friends, many women today forget that they are diamonds. But the world will only treat you according to the value you place on yourself. If you undervalue yourself, the world will bargain with you. If you discount yourself, the world will treat you like a clearance sale. But if you know your worth, the world rises to meet your price. Every day, life gives you small moments that test your sense of worth. When someone speaks to you rudely, when someone ignores your message, when someone takes your kindness for granted, when someone doesn't appreciate your effort. In those moments, you have a choice. Do you shrink yourself to win someone's approval? Or do you hold your dignity with grace? A woman who knows her worth does not beg for respect, she embodies it. Imagine a woman sitting in a restaurant waiting for someone who arrives an hour late. When he finally shows up, he doesn't apologize. He sits casually, as if her time doesn't matter. Many would smile, pretend everything is fine, and continue. But a high-value woman politely gets up and says, "I appreciate you coming, but I value my time too. Maybe we meet another day when we both come with respect." She doesn't shout. She doesn't insult. She doesn't create drama. She simply knows her worth. That is strength. That is value. That is dignity expressed through action. You see, when you know your worth, you stop accepting half love, half effort, half presence. You stop giving discounts on your peace. You stop apologizing for wanting respect. You stop trying to fit into places where you don't belong. A woman once told me, "I bend so much to make others happy that sometimes I forget I exist." I said, "My dear, trees that bend too much eventually break. You were not created to break. You were created to stand tall." Knowing your worth means knowing that you do not need to be perfect to deserve love. You deserve love because you exist. You deserve respect because you are human. You deserve peace because your soul matters. A high value woman understands this truth. And because she knows her worth, she does not chase people who walk away. She does not run behind those who don't see her. She doesn't lose sleep over someone who doesn't appreciate her presence. Because she knows something very important. Rejection does not decrease your value. Approval does not increase your value. Your worth is constant. Just like the sun doesn't stop shining because someone closed their curtains. And the ocean doesn't become shallow because someone doesn't value its depth. You remain who you are, whole, complete, radiant. Another everyday example, think of the time someone made you feel not enough, not pretty enough, not smart enough, not talented enough, not worthy enough. Do you know what a high value woman does? She doesn't try to prove anything. She simply keeps growing. She keeps shining. She keeps moving forward. Because she understands that other people's opinions are reflections of their mindset, not her value. Knowing your worth also means knowing what you bring into the world. Your kindness has value. Your patience has value. Your loyalty has value. Your smile has value. Your heart has value. If someone cannot see your value, it is not your loss, it is their blindness. When a shopkeeper doesn't understand the worth of a diamond, he might treat it like a piece of glass. But in the hands of a jeweler, that same diamond glows with pride. So don't worry if some people don't recognize your value. Not everyone is trained to understand treasure. And let me give you one more practical example. Imagine you are always the one checking on others, supporting them, cheering for them, giving your heart without hesitation. But they rarely give anything back. A woman who knows her worth slowly takes a step back. She understands that love is not a charity project. She knows relationships must feel balanced. She does not stop loving, she simply stops exhausting herself. She chooses those who choose her. She invests in those who invest back. She gives where giving feels natural, not draining. A high-value woman doesn't wait for the world to validate her. She validates herself. She honors herself. She respects herself. And because she does that, others learn to do the same. My dear friends, remember this. When you know your worth, you stop asking for permission to be yourself. You stop settling for emotional leftovers. You stop shrinking to fit into small spaces. You stand tall, not because you are proud, but because you have finally realized you were never meant to bend for anyone who cannot lift you. That is the power of a high-value woman. That is the beauty of knowing your worth. A high-value woman does not chase, she chooses. And this one realization can completely change the way a woman experiences relationships, friendships, opportunities, and even her own self-confidence. Chasing comes from fear. Choosing comes from clarity. Chasing says, I need you. Choosing says, I value me. Let me share a simple story. A young woman once told me, Gopal Das ji, every time I like someone, I do everything to make them like me back. I call first, message first, plan everything, adjust everything. But eventually, they take me for granted. I asked her, my dear, why are you auditioning for a role in someone's life? You are not a contestant. You are the prize. She smiled, but she understood the message. When you chase, you tell the world that someone else's presence is more important than your own peace. Think about this in daily life. Imagine you are at a supermarket. One shelf has simple plastic bottles. Another shelf has fine glass bottles imported from Italy. The plastic ones are everywhere. You can pick them up freely. But the glass bottles are kept carefully, sometimes behind a transparent door. You cannot grab them casually. They do not chase the buyer must choose them. The buyer must show intention. The buyer must show respect. The buyer must put in effort. The bottle knows its value. Do you? A woman who chases signals that she is available to anyone, but a woman who chooses sends a message that only those with genuine intention will earn her time and energy. She understands that attention is not affection, consistency is not commitment, and effort is not love unless combined with sincerity. You may have seen this in real life. A woman likes a man who replies late, makes excuses, cancels plans, and never takes initiative. Still, she sends him another message. Are you busy? She thinks that persistence will win his heart. But, my dear friend, chasing someone who is not choosing you is like watering a dead plant. It does not come back to life. A high-value woman does not chase because she understands that connection must be mutual. It must flow both ways. She knows that a relationship is not built on one person doing everything while the other person does nothing. She does not force someone to stay. She does not beg someone to return. She does not try to convince anyone to see her worth. She knows her worth and waits for someone who can see it without being reminded. Let's take a very relatable example. A woman texts someone she likes. He replies with one-word answers. Okay. He takes 8 hours to respond, but is active online all day. Instead of asking herself, why is he not replying? A high-value woman asks, why am I offering my energy to someone who doesn't value it? She chooses communication over confusion, effort over excuses, and respect over randomness. She doesn't chase because she knows that chasing removes your power. It places your happiness in someone else's pocket. It makes you forget that relationships must feel natural, not exhausting. Choosing is different. Choosing comes from strength. Choosing is based on alignment, two people walking toward each other, not one person running while the other stands still. Imagine another daily life situation. A woman applies for jobs. She sends emails. She follows up. And when one company rejects her, she blames herself. But one day she realizes something. I do not have to chase any job. I need to choose the job that aligns with my talent and values. Suddenly, her energy shifts. She walks into interviews with confidence, not desperation. Employers notice the change. Why? Because choosing empowers you, chasing drains you. The same happens in friendships. Think of that one friend you always check on. You send long, heartfelt messages. You plan meetups. You support them through everything. But when you need them, they disappear. A high-value woman does not chase friendships like this. She chooses to step back, not out of anger, out of awareness. Her energy is precious. Her time is sacred. Her heart is not a vending machine. Another beautiful example. Imagine a woman at a crossroads between two people. One is inconsistent, confusing, unpredictable. The other is calm, intentional, respectful. Many women chase the confusing one because drama feels exciting. But a high-value woman chooses the one who brings peace. She values her mental health too much to make inconsistency look romantic. Choosing is wisdom. Choosing is maturity. Choosing is knowing that love should feel like support, not stress. And let me share something very important. A woman who chooses herself becomes irresistible, not because she plays games, not because she manipulates, not because she acts hard to get, but because she radiates self respect. Her vibe says, I am whole. If you want to walk with me, walk with sincerity. And people are naturally drawn to those who value themselves. When a woman stops chasing, she stops competing, she stops proving, she stops performing. She simply allows life to bring the right people toward her. And trust me, life always brings the right people when you stop forcing the wrong ones. Just like magnets that attract when placed at the right distance, not when pushed desperately. Just like flowers that attract butterflies naturally, not by flying after them. A high value woman knows this truth. The right person will meet her where she is, not make her run to where they are. She chooses with grace, she chooses with patience, she chooses with clarity, she chooses with self love. Because she knows that her heart is not cheap currency to be spent on every passerby. It is a treasure to be offered only to those who have earned the privilege of holding it gently. A high value woman understands something very few people practice. She creates peace, not drama. In a world where everyone wants to be louder, faster, sharper, and more aggressive, she chooses to be calmer, softer, and more centered. And this is not weakness. It is strength, it is emotional mastery, it is wisdom in action. Drama is easy. Peace takes effort. Have you ever noticed how quickly people react today? One wrong word, one delayed message, one unanswered call, and emotions explode like fireworks. But a high value woman doesn't allow small inconveniences to steal her inner balance. She knows that reacting immediately is often reacting incorrectly. She understands that real strength is not in raising her voice, but in rising above the noise. Let me share a daily life scene. Imagine a woman standing at the bus stop. A man accidentally bumps into her and without even looking says something rude. Most people would snap back instantly. But she simply pauses, steps aside, and lets the moment pass. Not because she is powerless, but because she refuses to waste her power. She knows that arguing with every passing person is like stopping your journey to throw stones at every barking dog. You never reach your destination. She chooses her battles wisely. She speaks when it matters. She stays silent when silence brings more peace. She understands that not every situation deserves her reaction, and not every person deserves her explanation. Another everyday example: a woman receives a text message that sounds rude. Many would immediately think, why did he say this? What did he mean? How could he talk like that? And their mind would create a movie worth 3 hours with multiple scenarios and dramatic endings. But a high value woman, she doesn't jump to conclusions. She knows that messages lack tone. She gives grace. She waits. She checks. She clarifies. She communicates with maturity instead of reacting with insecurity. Her calmness does not come from a peaceful life. It comes from her peaceful mindset. Sometimes she is hurt, but she doesn't respond with hurtful words. Sometimes she is stressed, but she doesn't spread stress to others. Sometimes she is frustrated, but she doesn't punish the world for it. She takes a deep breath, steps back, and handles the situation with wisdom, not impulsiveness. You see, peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the presence of clarity. There is a beautiful image I once heard. A bird does not trust the branch, it trusts its wings. Similarly, a high value woman does not trust the world to be peaceful. She trusts her ability to remain peaceful within the world. Consider another simple example. She is at home and her sibling or partner comes back irritated from work. They speak a bit harshly. Instead of matching their tone, she understands they are tired, maybe overwhelmed. Instead of reacting, she responds with calm. Often, her peace softens their anger. Her calm tone becomes a soothing balm because emotional stability can heal emotional storms. Drama multiplies conflict. Peace melts conflict. A high value woman knows that anger is contagious, but so is calmness. When she speaks softly, others naturally lower their own tone. When she behaves with maturity, others subconsciously rise to match her level. Her peace influences the environment. Her energy sets the emotional temperature of the room. Another real life moment. She is in a relationship, but there are misunderstandings. Most people jump to accusations, assumptions, and emotional explosions. But she does not create chaos. She waits, observes, thinks, and then expresses her thoughts with sincerity. She doesn't say, "You always do this." She says, "This made me feel this way. Let's understand each other." She understands that communication creates connection, while drama destroys it. Her peace is her power. Some people think drama makes them appear strong, or passionate, or important. But the truth is, drama often comes from insecurity. Only those who feel empty inside make noise outside. A high value woman does not need noise. She carries herself with quiet confidence. She knows her dignity is too precious to be thrown around in arguments. Imagine her at her workplace. Two colleagues argue loudly about something small. She listens, but she doesn't jump in to fuel the fire. Later, she approaches them calmly, brings practical solutions, and helps them settle the issue, not because she wants to be superior, but because peace is her natural language. There is something magnetic about people who remain composed. They attract respect, they gain trust. Their presence feels safe. People feel more open around them because peace is a rare quality, and rare qualities are always valuable. Another example, she goes to a cafe and the waiter accidentally brings the wrong order. Instead of shouting or showing attitude, she smiles and says, "It's okay. Can you bring the correct one when possible?" Her gentle response does not just solve the problem, it brightens someone's day. She understands that everyone has their struggles, everyone has their mistakes, but kindness costs nothing. Drama makes you feel heavy, peace makes you feel free. A high value woman knows when to speak and when to hold back. She knows when to walk away and when to resolve. She knows when to invest her energy and when to preserve it. She is gentle, not passive. She is calm, not weak. She is grounded, not indifferent. She knows that being peaceful is not about ignoring feelings. It is about managing them wisely. She understands that life will give her storms, but she doesn't allow the storms to enter her mind. Because her peace is her sanctuary, her peace is her strength, her peace is her signature. And in a world full of chaos, a woman who carries peace within her becomes unforgettable. A high value woman understands the difference between having walls and having standards. Many people today confuse the two. They think that when a woman sets boundaries, she is being rude when she says no. She is being difficult when she expects respect. She is being demanding. But the truth is, Standards are not barriers, they are filters. They don't block love, they protect it. They do not isolate you, they elevate the quality of people who enter your life. Let me tell you a small story. There was a young woman who always said yes. Yes to favors she didn't have time for. Yes to friends who only called when they needed something. Yes to messages that made her uncomfortable. Yes to relationships that drained her. She thought that being available meant being kind. But slowly she realized something painful. The more she said yes to others, the more she said no to herself. One day, she decided to change, not by building walls, but by setting standards. And that day, her entire life shifted, not because people changed, but because she did. That is what a high-value woman understands. Standards are not about being strict, they are about being self-respecting. Imagine a house with no front door. Anyone can walk in anytime with any intention. Chaos would be normal. Safety would be compromised. A home feels peaceful because it has doors, not to reject people, but to ensure that the right people enter with respect. Similarly, a high-value woman has standards like doors. She opens them with kindness, but she never removes them. In daily life, this shows up in small but powerful ways. For example, she doesn't allow people to speak to her disrespectfully. If someone raises their voice, she doesn't raise hers. She simply says, "I don't communicate in this tone. We can talk when you're calmer, not angry, not dramatic, just clear." Because standards are clarity, not conflict. Or imagine someone repeatedly cancels plans on her at the last minute. Many would feel hurt, but pretend everything is fine. A high-value woman does not lash out, but she also does not pretend. She calmly says, "I understand things come up, but I value my time. Please let me know earlier next time." She is not being harsh, she is honoring herself. Another example, someone asks her to compromise her values. Perhaps a friend pressures her to gossip, or a partner urges her to lower her moral boundaries. She doesn't fight. She doesn't get defensive. She simply chooses her principle over popularity. She knows that losing someone who doesn't respect her standards is not a loss. It's alignment. A high-value woman's standards also reflect in how she gives love. She loves deeply, but she doesn't love blindly. She gives, but she does not give until she is empty. She compromises, but not at the cost of her dignity. She supports others, but she doesn't abandon herself. And there is something beautiful about this. People treat her differently. Not because she demands respect, but because she commands it through her energy. Picture a woman in a relationship where the other person gives minimal effort. She doesn't beg for more. She doesn't try to prove her worth. She doesn't chase. She simply matches effort with effort. If someone texts her once in 3 days, she doesn't text 3 times in 1 day. She gives as much as she receives. Not out of ego, but out of balance. This is a standard. Or watch her in friendships. She has compassion for others, but she is not the keeper of everyone's emotional baggage. If someone continuously brings negativity, she listens, but she sets a gentle line. "I'm here for you, but let's also talk about solutions." She doesn't allow her mind to become a dumping ground for the world's stress. This too is a standard. Another everyday example, when choosing a partner, she doesn't go for the one who is loudest, flashiest, or most charming. She chooses character over charisma. She looks for consistency, honesty, purpose, and emotional maturity, not just temporary excitement. She knows that butterflies fade, but respect remains. She knows that fun is temporary, but values decide the future. She knows that chemistry makes you attracted, but standards decide if you stay. And here is something important: standards do not make her lonely. They protect her from the wrong company. They filter out those who come with half intentions. They remove drama, confusion, and chaos from her life. Her standards create a peaceful space where only those with genuine hearts can enter. Some people say, but what if having standards scares people away? And she smiles because she knows the truth. The right people are never scared of your standards. They are attracted to them. They respect them. They rise to meet them. Only the wrong people get scared, and that is a blessing, not a loss. A high-value woman is not guarded, she is guided, guided by wisdom, guided by self-love, guided by clarity. Her standards are not rules. They are reflections of the love she has for herself. She knows what she deserves, and she refuses to settle for less. Not because she thinks she is better, but because she knows she is worthy. She does not build walls. She builds boundaries, not out of fear, out of wisdom. She creates a life where she feels respected, valued, and emotionally safe. She invites love that is healthy, stable, and sincere. And in a world where many confuse availability with affection, a woman with standards becomes unforgettable. Not because she is hard to get, because she is hard to replace. A high-value woman understands one of the greatest strengths a person can possess: emotional independence. Not independence from people, but independence from emotional dependence. She does not rely on others to define her happiness, soothe her insecurities, or validate her existence. She knows that her heart is her responsibility. Her peace is her creation. Her joy is her inner garden to nurture. Let me share a simple story. A young woman once said, "I feel anxious whenever he doesn't reply. I feel unloved if my friends don't check on me. I feel incomplete when I'm alone." Gently I asked her, "My dear, if someone else can control your happiness, then they also control your sadness. Why give anyone remote control of your emotions?" She smiled because she knew the truth. When your peace depends on people, your peace becomes fragile. A high-value woman learns to build her emotional foundation from within, not from the shifting behaviors of others. In daily life, this shows up in many small but powerful ways. For example, she doesn't panic when someone needs space. She understands that everyone has their own storms, their own moments of silence, their own emotional cycles. She does not see someone's distance as a reflection of her inadequacy. She knows that people can care for you deeply and still need room to breathe. Her emotional stability allows relationships to flow naturally without fear or pressure. Another situation: imagine she is having a difficult day. Instead of expecting her partner or friends to guess her feelings, she expresses them calmly. She doesn't say, "If they cared, they would know." She says, "Let me communicate with love." This is emotional maturity, understanding that expectations without communication create frustration. Her emotional independence does not make her cold, it makes her whole. She gives love freely, but she does not crumble when love fluctuates. She appreciates attention, but she does not depend on it to feel valued. She enjoys companionship, but she doesn't fear solitude. She laughs with others, but she knows how to comfort herself too. Another beautiful example, imagine someone compliments her. She smiles, accepts it graciously, but she doesn't need it to believe she is worthy. And when someone criticizes her unfairly, she doesn't fall apart. She listens, reflects, and releases. She knows that one person's opinion does not define her reality. In this way, she is balanced, not carried away by praise, not crushed by criticism. Emotional independence also shows in how she handles conflict. Many people argue to win, but she communicates to understand. She doesn't shout to prove a point. She doesn't threaten to walk away to feel powerful. She doesn't use silence as punishment. Instead, she says, "Let's talk when we are calm. I care about the solution, not the competition." This steadiness comes from knowing that harmony is built, not forced. And look at how she reacts to uncertainty. Life doesn't always go as planned. Friendships fade, relationships change, opportunities shift. But she does not fall apart when things slip from her hands. She adapts, she reflects, she grows. She knows that her happiness does not depend on a person staying, but on her soul staying centered. One of the greatest signs of emotional independence is the ability to enjoy your own company. Many people fear being alone because they confuse loneliness with aloneness. Loneliness is emptiness. Aloneness is fullness. A high-value woman cultivates aloneness. She reads books that nourish her mind, listens to music that calms her soul, goes for walks that refresh her heart. She doesn't need a crowd to feel alive. She feels alive because she is connected with herself. She knows how to self-soothe. When she is anxious, she takes deep breaths instead of taking it out on others. When she is stressed, she pauses instead of panicking. When she is hurt, she reflects instead of reacting. Her emotional world is guided by wisdom, not impulse. And because she is emotionally independent, she becomes emotionally attractive. Her stability becomes a safe place for others. Her calmness becomes magnetic. Her confidence becomes comforting. She doesn't grip relationships tight out of fear. She holds them gently out of love. People feel free with her, not pressured. They feel valued, not suffocated. Another everyday example, imagine her partner is upset. Instead of absorbing his mood and becoming upset too, she simply says, "I understand you're stressed. Let me know if you need space or someone to talk to." She doesn't make his feelings about her. She doesn't take things personally. She offers support without losing her stability. Emotional independence creates emotional generosity. It also shows when she makes decisions. She doesn't ask 10 people before making a simple choice. She trusts her mind. She trusts her intuition. She trusts her inner voice. She knows that guidance is helpful, but dependency is heavy. She makes decisions from a place of clarity, not confusion. And the most beautiful part, emotional independence makes her love even deeper. Because when love comes from freedom, not fear, it becomes pure. When affection is not demanded, it is cherished. When attention is not begged for, it is meaningful. When love is not used to fill emptiness, it becomes an expression of fullness. A high-value woman understands that she is responsible for her own happiness. Others can add to her joy, but they cannot be the source of it. She creates her own emotional home, a place of peace, stability, and inner strength. And because she builds from within, nothing from the outside can easily shake her. That is emotional independence. That is true personal power. And that is what makes her truly unforgettable. My dear friends, a high value woman is not born. She is created through daily choices. Every moment you have two options: value yourself or discount yourself. Choose value, choose growth, choose purpose, choose peace, choose dignity. And one day the world will look at you and say, she didn't become valuable because of who she met. She became valuable because of who she became. Thank you. Stay blessed, stay inspired.